What kept you from Unaliving yourself? Someone made me a boiling hot cup of tea with lots of sugar in it and made a point of talking to me while I drank it. Completely changed my state by the time I was half done with that drink. Having to take breaths to blow on the drink to cool it, drinking it slowly to stop it burning my mouth, the taste of the drink, the sugar, I don't usually have sugar, having to focus my attention between the drink, the conversation and the fact I was about to kill myself. I don't know how they knew, or even if they did. And I don't know if they knew what they did that day. I'll never forget it though, and it taught me so much, and now I don't get anywhere near that point because I realized how much of it is physiological. Mind going that way? Hot sweet tea, human interaction, stretching, fresh air, water, food, reading the list is limitless for me now, but I work through the list until my state changes, and you know what, it never takes that long. It's crazy. Sure, I get depressed, but for my morose mood to become morbid and suicidal takes too much to get to me now. I didn't have a surefire way. I couldn't use a gun because I didn't have access to one, and I didn't want to leave a mess. I couldn't hang myself, couldn't take pills because I was worried I would just end up a vegetable, and really didn't have the right pills anyway. I didn't know that you could off yourself by blocking your tailpipe, and if I'd known and had a car, this was 16 to 18 years of age, I probably would have driven out into the middle of nowhere and done that. Now even just thinking about any of that makes me nervous because I would never want to kill myself. Which is amazing considering even a couple years ago, I still felt like it might be inevitable. I won't ever own a gun, though. My oldest son. I have 4 kids and obviously I love them all, but my oldest son is from my first marriage. If something were to happen to me, he would be sent to live with his dad and his life as he knows it would be over. His dad is pretty absent and doesn't know anything about my son. He's also one of those people who insist that if the kid doesn't eat what's for dinner, then they don't eat at all. Or that school isn't important. And he doesn't believe in ADHD or autism, both of which my son has been diagnosed with. He believes that you can beat the ADHD out, etc. So at my worst times, only thinking of what would happen to my oldest son and how his life would be ruined is what turns it around. I keep telling myself that it would be the most selfish act I would ever have done. I could never do it, but for 4 years, I wanted to. I got really close 3 times, and those are the only descriptive memories I have during my depressed, alone time. One time, to kill the thoughts, I ran outside barefooted in the snow. I ran in large circles, crying, and hyperventilating, because I wanted to kill myself but I couldn't, but I wanted to, and etc. Then, I stupidly got scared of my eyes freezing over, so I just stopped. Some days I reflect on my mental state back then. No one knew about it the way I did, and only my family had an inkling. I was a straight A student with all the extracurriculars and people were envious of me. They never knew, and will never know. Please, confess to someone who has the patience to do so. Repressing these thoughts is not a solution. I spiraled really hard my freshman year of college. My depression was out of control and I could barely leave my dorm room, and on the weekends I'd stay inside pretty much all day except for every evening when I would leave to eat dinner at the dining hall behind my building. I would always arrive at exactly 5 p.m. when it opened for dinner because I knew that this sweet old lady named Wanda was always on shift to swipe your meal cards. I waited for weeks for my roommate to go home for the weekend, so when she finally did, I had pills ready to go. I decided to go to the dining hall one last time, and when Wanda swiped my card she told me how happy she was to see me and that she was wondering where I'd been the past few days and that she had been worried about me. I had no idea she remembered me at all, and I was absolutely dumbfounded at her reaction. On my way out of the dining hall she waved to me and said, "See you tomorrow." And I told her that yes, I'd be back tomorrow. I couldn't bear the thought of breaking my promise to her, so I decided I'd wait until the semester was over. Now, I graduate in a little over 3 months. Thank you Wanda, love. My mom has severe depression and suicidal tendencies, just like me. Seems it's genetic or some congenital defect, or maybe we're just really fucked up. Either way, she needs me. We both have this messed up brain chemistry, but the difference between her and me is that I'm stronger. So, I reminded myself. Every time I came close. I reminded myself that if I kill myself right now, then she will definitely kill herself when she finds out, and even though I'm okay with offing myself, I sure as hell am not okay with her doing it. I will not be the reason my mom kills herself. I picked myself up, and I forced myself to get better, and it hasn't been easy, and there are days when it feels like I have made absolutely no progress. But I'm stronger. I will be strong for the both of us. Someone has to take care of my dog. I take dog ownership pretty seriously since I had to leave my old dogs with my parents and they took absolute shit care of them. I still feel guilty about it when I think back about it, but the dogs just couldn't tolerate moving to a city. My dog gets plenty of exercise, frequent training and other enrichment. Knowing that he might end up with someone who lets him get fat, let his nails grow out and his teeth rot, just sickens me. Everyone else in my life has their own free will and will be able to get along without me. My dog relies on me and I can't let him down like I did to Sage and Sam. My family, including my husband. I remember thinking that everything was pointless and that I should just throw myself off the side of my building. I was on the roof trying to hide from my then boyfriend, now my husband, because I couldn't stop crying and thinking that this was the night I was gonna kill myself. The entire universe would have benefited from me being dead. But then I thought about how heartbroken my family would be, so I forced myself to go back into the house. I shut all the windows. Cried myself to sleep. The next morning I decided to get off birth control, been great ever since. Being totally honest, I'm not sure. I tried to jump off of a building and just couldn't. Your subconscious won't let you. I tried to hang myself, but just woke up on the floor because right before I passed out I kicked the ladder out from under myself. Your body will do everything it can to preserve itself, it's much harder than you'd think to kill yourself. I think about it a lot. Things are better now but I don't have some special thing that kept me from doing it. I don't know why I'm still alive, I just am. Meeting my boyfriend. The night I was planning to do it, I decided to reach out for help one last time. On Omegle of all places. I met him under the depression tag, he was there for the same reason, and we connected instantly, talking for hours. We exchanged number and became friends, then started dating. He saved me and completely changed my life. The night we met my family had just lost our house, my mom was on a downward spiral of drugs and bad decisions, I was failing my senior year of high school and I was living with 18 years of abuse. Now I live in a completely different state, I'm completely independent, have my dream job and living in a wonderful apartment. He and I spend every day together. He saved me that night. I saw what it did to my best friend's mother when he killed himself. I couldn't bear the thought of leaving my problems, that are all 100% solvable, I just lacked the ability to process and think through them. On the shoulders of other people. Additionally, I have survivor's guilt which I suffer from heavily and I would hate to leave that burden on someone else as well. TLDR, I'm still alive because I witnessed the effects of suicide firsthand and couldn't stand the though of leaving that shitstorm for my loved ones. I had made a friend that was as bad as me. At that time I didn't think any of my friends could understand and I felt like no one cared. I met my friend at school who basically needed someone to talk to. So he vented to me about wanting to die and expressed many of the same feelings I had. After a bit of sharing back and forth, we agreed we would be there for each other always. For a long time, I only stayed because I knew he would lose hope if I left. 5 years later and we are both much better. We still hang out when the other is going south but for the most part, we have gotten better together. He's engaged to the perfect girl for him and they both have a good life together. Maybe I just never really felt the urge as strongly as others do, but to answer the question, a couple theories I want to test. See, I heard as a child that death only visits those whose time is naturally depleted. I don't believe death actually exists, but on the supreme off chance that I am wrong, I don't want to blow that chance because of some momentary grief, no matter how great. Later in my life I also stumbled on a similar theory to test. Can someone who hates God, such as myself, be allowed in heaven as long as the person is still morally upstanding? I don't believe in God or an afterlife either, but I felt this one is particularly worth testing because I would do anything to even try punching the bastard that gave my brother surprise late-stage liver cancer that led to his death only hours after it was discovered. My dog. He looked so sad when I was preparing for my attempts. He sat on my lap and licked my face until I smiled. Then he'd go absolutely crazy until I started laughing. Then he'd do laps around the house. He knew how bad I was doing long before any person did. He was the best boy, and my best friend for 14 years. He insisted upon comforting me even while he was having a stroke. We laid him in his bed with his blanket and favorite toy and walked away, hoping that he'd go to sleep and not wake up. We couldn't stand seeing him suffering so much. He heard me crying and drug himself through 3 rooms, while having strokes, and rested his head on my lap. He hated seeing me upset. I held him all night, and when the morning came he went into a coma. He passed away a few hours after that. When I was at my worst, I had a little senior citizen kitty named Fred. Fred had been at the shelter for a long time when I adopted him at age 8. When I went to the shelter, I asked, "Where are the old kitties?" and went to his cage first. He started purring at me and I took him without looking at a second cat. Fred got really attached to me really quickly, and I to him. When I got him, I was having at least 1 panic attack every day and was drinking heavily to cope with it. After I got Fred, it dropped to about 1 per month and I sobered up. He never learned to deal with people other than me. He would let people pet him only if he was cuddling with me. If I died, he might never have gotten another human and he would have been so lonely and helpless, and I couldn't stand the thought, so I couldn't kill myself. Then, when I failed and my ex stopped the bleeding / got the knife away from me. Now. The fear I remember being in my brother's voice when I woke him up with a phone call at 12 a.m., we had not spoken in months. The note that I woke up to in the hospital from my mom, had no spoken for a while either, and then her driving 14 hours in 1 day. I'm the moment all you think about and are concerned with is your problems. It opened my eyes to realize things are so much bigger than myself. I would have 2 nieces that would have never met their gunkle, but I'm here and now they can't get rid of me. The pain it would inflict on anyone, but especially loved ones. I've been dealing with these thoughts all week. How would my body be found? What would that do to the person who found it? How would that news reach my loved ones? What will my mother do when she finds out? When I think about my mom's reaction, all thoughts of suicide ideation vanish. Feels like a punch in the gut, especially because thinking about how my death would affect others, that it would affect anyone at all, that anyone would care, is counter to the awful thoughts and feelings in my head that make me even consider suicide. I'm not suicidal, and never have been, so I can't begin to understand what that experience is like for those of you who are or have been. However, this is my take on it: committing suicide might end your suffering, but its effect on others is insanely painful. Maybe if you're a hermit who locked yourself in a mountain hut, you won't be missed. But if you know any other person or creature, and if that person or creature is used to seeing and experiencing you, your absence will be felt. And at risk of sounding like an insensitive dick, that's an incredibly selfish choice to make. For the record, I think if someone is in a bad enough mental place, or are greatly suffering physically, that they should be allowed to leave the world peacefully through euthanasia or something. But almost all suicide isn't like that, and you inevitably involve someone in your death. I.e., mom finds your body in the bathroom, you hurt or kill another driver with a head-on suicide collision, policemen spend days or longer searching for your missing person, etc.